It is Becky Davidson. Happy Thursday, everyone. In the Empowered Women Sell More. I'm super excited to be on the Facebook Live, and hopefully we're going live. So Martie's keeping an eye on her phone. We popped on and we didn't think it was live streaming, so we hopped off really quick. But I want to thank everyone in this group for being part of our group, our Empowered Women Sell More, and also for those of you that watch this live. So you all know me. I hope you all know me and have been on one of my lives in the past. But I want to explain why I have Martie on, and I'm going to introduce Martie. Hey, Martie, how are you?
Very blessed. Thank you, Becky. Yay. Thank you for having me.
Yay. Well, I'm excited to have Martie. And basically, this group is about empowering women. And I feel, and Martie can share on her thoughts on this, but women in particular, we wear a lot of hats, and I feel like we've been raised to not speak our truth, to be seen and not heard, and to just show up and do. And sometimes we get beaten down. And resilience, we're going to talk about resilience today and how vital that is, not just for entrepreneurs, but in life in general, and how important it is to really build that resiliency within us and to find our joy, to find our truth, to speak our truth, and to really live the life that we've been designed to live. And in this group, I always want to bring value. A couple things. I want to bring value to the community. I want people, for us to share. It takes a village to live a great life. You need people, connections, and every single person in this group has a message, has something to share, has value to give. And so I want to help people bring their value, share their value. I also want this to be a place where we can support each other, encourage each other, and let people speak their truth and share their message. And it might be a small platform that we have here, but sometimes that small platform leads to bigger and better things and a jumping off point. And so I want to, and I've been talking about, and I have been trying to bring in some interviews. I have another one next week that we're going to do. And I think Katie is going to do a live interview next week. And then the following week we have Christina that's going to be on. So I hope you'll tune in, and please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know what resiliency means to you, because I think it's a really powerful word. And I feel like I have a lot of resilience, and I think most women do, even though we may not acknowledge it and we may not really lean into it. But we have to. Life requires us to be resilient. So today we have Martie Smith, who's going to be sharing. She wrote a book, and she's had a journey. Her life has had some ups and downs, as all of us have had. And she's had some real breakthroughs in her life, and quite a story, an amazing story. So I wanted y'all to meet her. I wanted to give her a platform to share her story of resiliency and maybe give people in this group hope. So yes, if you're watching the live, make sure to introduce yourself, say hello, let us know where you're watching from, and let us know what resilience means to you. But I'm going to turn it over and say hello to Martie. And what I would love, Martie, is for you to maybe introduce yourself and kind of give everyone a 2-minute or just a quick backstory of who you are, and kind of your the journey prior, who you were before you really had this this breakthrough moment in your life. So would you mind kind of sharing your backstory? And welcome to our live today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you to all of you out there listening. And it's always good to hear someone's story, because no matter what, we're connected in one way, shape, or form. And the more we listen to each other, the more we learn from each other. So I, for the longest time, was always listening, but never putting anything into action. And I was born in Colombia, South America. And one thing that I knew I had to do was adapt everywhere we moved. I've moved 49 times in my lifetime.
Wow.
And that you have to learn to adjust to the environment. Especially, I was born in Colombia, South America, but I learned English before I did Spanish. So I was already shaming my own native tongue, but it's because we moved to the United States that I had to, jump into action with as doing Rome as the Romans do. And so,
Right.
so
Oh,
I learned English, but and I think that's why I don't have an accent as well. But I was always the interpreter in the family. At 5 years old, they don't take you seriously when you're calling up to hook up the electricity or the phone or any utilities, and I say, um, Mom, they don't believe me. And then she goes, don't be shy. Oh, she wants to cut on the phone and get off the phone, kid. So it was always, I always found the comedy in it, but at the same time, it was not a fun childhood
oh
because
my
I
God.
felt like I was exposed to things that I really had no idea. In a gynecology office, being a 5-year-old interpreting, what are you talking about?
Oh no.
So it was nuts. So at 7 years old, I heard my parents didn't want boys, and they wanted everything but boys. I mean, they just wanted boys, and I was a girl. So my mom one day said, "You were a mistake," and I
Oh my
that
gosh.
really sunk in deep, and I felt like I was shutting down, and there was something in me that kept me driven, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know, but I was going to make myself or prove to myself that I was worth something, that I was not a mistake.
Mm.
So it's in the backdrop of all the traumas I've had in my life. I'm 63 years old now, but I have seen that resilience was the driving factor behind that driven force that I didn't know what it was. And came the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, I have been injured. I've had 26 surgeries. I've torn my knee joints, ankles. I have a spine stimulator. I really am part bionic because I have all kinds of tools and stuff in me and hardware and a battery. I charge myself like a
Oh my
phone.
gosh. That's crazy.
Yes, and it's exciting because it kept me occupied while I was, dwelling on everything that woe is me. But then came the pandemic, and in that shift, I learned what limiting beliefs were, and I was like, oh wow, that's why, that's why. I started seeing it and pinpointing. I said, I need to write the book I've always wanted to write. I just never knew the topic, and so resilience seemed to be the reoccurring factor in all my traumas, and I knew that when I found my faith again, I was raised Catholic, but it was all just for show. I didn't really understand the faith. And after I understood it, I believed in it. I saw the movie The Passion, and it woke me up. And shortly thereafter, God had provided the doctor that kept me. I was in a wheelchair, bound in a wheelchair because my muscles had atrophied with so many different surgeries. And I re-injured my leg, and to the point where I had tremors and everything else. And now I don't have hardly anything, but taking 14 medications. I mean, I was just bombarded with medical issues, and by the grace of God, I got
Right.
up out of that wheelchair, and it woke up a confidence in me. But I was still living in the past, so I had to get rid of that somehow or take a look at it. So
Hmm.
one of these things, I do have 5 ways that I've become an entrepreneur, because someone that fearful of themselves is not confident enough to go work on their own. I was always taught you got to go get a corporate job, you got to work 9 to 5, that whole spiel. But no,
So it feels like, I mean, it sounds like your whole life was resilient. I mean, it sounds like your whole life has been resiliency from moving 49 times and 26 surgeries. Man, you are a hero to most people because, no, not many people have gone through what you've gone through.
right.
So, yeah,
It took a lot of convincing on my behalf during the pandemic with all these self-improvement courses. I started seeing, oh wow,
so were you
Marty,
holding yourself back on things that
yes,
you wanted to
because
do? Like
because
what, give me an example of things that you weren't pursuing because of your fears or limiting beliefs.
well, for one, I had a scholarship, a Fulbright scholarship, to go to Rhode Island School of Design when I was in high school,
Right?
and I was good enough to get free schooling. My parents didn't want me to do that. They wanted me to live at home until I got married, but I couldn't get married because I didn't get to go out. I was the the maid service at home and also the babysitter. I have a younger brother that's 8 years younger than me, so I
Mm.
was his mom, And I didn't really have a childhood nor the freedom to do the things I wanted. I wanted to be a Girl Scout. I wanted to be in the 4-H club. I wanted to be on the volleyball team. I would always find a way. I was very resourceful, and I was always finding a way to get recognized, if not by my parents, by school or by activities or whatever. I was a 4.0 student the whole time. I mean, no matter what, I love to learn, and I know I'm going to die learning,
Oh,
but
that's
that's what's
awesome.
helped me. That's what's helped me to let go of all that mess that I had accumulated.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Why do you feel it was so important for you to write this book? I know you said a word, hope, but what was it that the message that you want to share with people that you feel so burning inside you that you feel like you need to share with people?
And it doesn't matter, no matter what. And I know now, and I acknowledge it now, because at one point in time I thought I was a wuss for not doing or trying anything. But now I see that I survived a lot. I survived 2 near deaths during surgery, and there was so many things that I never looked at the present. I always looked at the, oh, I didn't make it, or oh, I'm still in a cast, or I'm in a wheelchair, I'm not good, yeah, or I can't work, la 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 la. And I've
Excuses.
knocked,
We all have those excuses. Yep.
yeah,
I
knocked
get
down
it.
all the achievements to nothing. And I was like, no, no, Martie. And so I started learning this thing about limiting beliefs, and that was like the best piece of gold nugget that I could hear, because I started dumping it. I started dumping all those limiting beliefs, and or even just taking a look at the inventory of me and saying, okay, you've been following this pattern. I started seeing things that repeated themselves, a repetitive pattern of down crushing my hopes and dreams, and I was scared to even dream big.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not anymore. And now I feel like I'm living the childhood I didn't have. But the book was a healing, like a
Oh, that's
catharsis,
awesome. Okay.
because I started writing down the things that were affecting me, and I looked at a new perspective.
Oh,
And
that's
that
awesome.
perspective was what made me more confident. That
Awesome. Yeah,
the
that's
fact I
awesome.
lost 70 pounds and 70 inches gave me even more confidence.
Yes, sounds like you are Wonder Woman now, unstoppable.
Thank you.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
why don't you share your five? I know you said you had 5 tips and strategies to help people to build resilience, to kind of grow their dreams. Because, yeah, I've worked with entrepreneurs, gosh, almost my whole life. And I see, especially solopreneurs, women solopreneurs, we come, we have a dream, we have this little small baby dream, and we take action. And there's so many stumbling blocks, there's so many roadblocks, there's so many, places that can throw a curve. And I do find that sometimes people get discouraged and let the discouragement derail them from their dream. And so resiliency is what gets us back on track. And so how can an entrepreneur that is struggling with that, kind of tap into that resiliency and persevere?
I don't have to. I don't have to remind anybody that adversity is going to come at your doorstep sooner or later. Okay,
Right.
the difference, is how we react, and how prepared we are to deal with it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so in all this learning, I come up with 5 things that I'm pretty sure I've read them somewhere, and it's just my way of nitpicking all that little stuff that I couldn't sort through. And the first one was take inventory of me.
Mm-hmm.
Take Look at all the things, mind, body, and soul. Like, so in the mind, I started dumping all that negativity, because I was always in that environment, a toxic environment of negativity, and I needed to get away from that, because I'd seen like the joyful side of things, and I was like, I always wanted to get adopted wherever I tasted that. I was like, ooh, ooh, and then I go back to the old way, and I was like, ah. So, but
Mm-hmm.
so I fear was the biggest factor for me, and I said, let it go and let God. And when I heard that quote, it struck a nerve in my soul to say, you survived. You're alive. You're walking again. You got up out of a wheelchair. And then I started counting all the blessings. And that was just mind boggling, because it's humbling. It's humbling when you start looking at it in a different way. Um, the body, I started shedding the weight, and I started becoming more doing exercises, to the point that I drove myself to become a personal trainer. at the age of 62 and a half. And I was like, I didn't see that coming. I was looking at one point in time what kind of motorized wheelchair I'd have to climb mountains or whatever. I was going to get around in a wheelchair however I had to because I could not sit still.
Wow. That's awesome. You're amazing, Martie.
And then examining my soul, there was like repetitive things that kept reminding me of the past. Is like, you need to write those down and get rid of them. And it was, I burnt them. I would write those nagging thoughts that just take you right back to where you left from. And I wrote them down and I let them go. And I said, I got through this. I got through this. So I started being more and more grateful. So that was the first thing. The next thing was be bold. Now you're talking to someone that was petrified of meeting people. The only thing I knew all those 49 times I knew was the top of my shoes. I didn't want to look at anybody in the eye. I didn't want to speak to new people. This pandemic has made me global. And I'm just blown away because I am bilingual. I'm meeting people in France, in Europe, and all over the world. And it's like, God prepared me for this. He kept me fueled. I just didn't see it because when I cleared all that junk, I started seeing all the potential I had in me. And I was like, okay, so I can be bold. So I got in front of the camera. I started doing the exercises, doing videos of my exercises and all. And it's like, you're not too bad. You're not doing too bad.
Yeah. And one of the things I always tell people is do it afraid, do it scared. And there's another line, suck your way to success, because no one starts anything being great. I mean, there is no way the first time you do a live, the first time you start your business, your first presentation, your first book might even, I'm sure once you've written 10 books, it's going to be totally different than book one. I mean, It takes practice. It takes practice to be bold. It takes practice to show up. It takes practice to do all these things and do them confidently. And I think it sounds like you just decided just to do it and not worry about the result.
Right. And I was a perfectionist at one point in time because I was always told that you have to do it this, and this way. And it was driving me insane. I mean, I couldn't have a magazine not squared up on the coffee table. I've gone the other extreme and I don't really care because now I'm enjoying and living fully my life of what the things I love to do. I mean, it's just an awesome change in perspective that made me see the things that were silly and at the same time laugh at myself and say, you got it. You had it. You just didn't see it.
Don't you think that age is a factor too? Because I think you hit an age where you're like, why have I been worrying about this my whole life? Like, why have I been letting this hold me back my whole life? I wish I would have had that same, like, I don't care mentality when I was in my 20s and 30s. I mean, I still care about people and I still do care about what people think. I don't want to be a bully or anything like that, but I just don't let it stop me from doing the things I want to do. I don't let it hold me back, all those fears, those self-doubt.
All that process that I was learning all these years taught me to be more empathetic because now I see both sides of the fence. I see those people that were acting like I once did. And it's like, it makes me stop in my tracks, become even more grateful that I'm not going through that. But at the same time, I want to have that servant spirit and help them.
Oh, yes.
And if they want to help themselves, then they'll have their breakthroughs. And then they'll see that what I have was something that I need to pay forward because I say God puts all these little earth angels in front of you that you don't get with your own family or your friends. Very few are there in the thick and thin of things, and you start seeing that. You start becoming more sympathetic, more empathetic, and you just celebrate. Another thing to do is celebrate the mini goals. So I started celebrating. I said, Martie, you were the only girl out of the siblings to graduate from the medical university, even in a wheelchair. So that's the problem.
Yeah. So is that number 3? Celebrate the mini goals?
Yeah. Celebrate. Okay. Be bold. Take inventory. Be bold. Celebrate. And so celebrate those tiny little goals that you put, and use Sunday to plan your week out. And even if it's only speaking to prospects, you accomplished it. You feel accomplished. And the more you do it, the more you want to do it, and the more passionate you become. And then you're amazed beyond your imagination of what you achieve. Because once you look back, that's when it's worthwhile looking back and saying, wow, if I could do that, then look at all this that I could possibly do.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. I teach people and recommend to celebrate those small little wins and victories and have them be the action-based, control the controllables. So many times people grade themselves on the result. Well, we can't control the result. We can only control the action steps that we take. And so, hey, if you get up in the morning and do your gratitude journal, high fives to you. That's a win. If you get up and take action and reach out to 5 people or 1 person or book an appointment, hey, high five, that's a win. If you write a chapter in your book and took action, that's a win. And so many people get so hyper focused because they don't see the results. But if we celebrate those little victories, those little action-based victories, the results will come. And that's obviously what you did, is you celebrated all those little pieces of the journey. And as you kept doing it, it creates momentum, it creates confidence, it creates belief, because you're having all these things to celebrate. It kind of gets you in the win zone and it pulls you to your success.
Right. So then the next one is be consistent in being in the present.
Oh, I love that.
And the present is a present. Unwrap it, but stop and take a look at it and observe in the here and the now what you have in front of you and what you've accomplished, and that you're still alive and you still have an imagination and creativity. God gave us all these gifts, and we bury them deep if we hear something that just drives us to the other. Oh, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to try. I'm scared, or any of those things. So be consistent, and those opportunities become dreams.
Right.
That do happen. And one of them is my book. I mean, I never imagined that I'd be writing a book, let alone that I'd be published. I published the week before Christmas, and I'm already selling. I said, one day I'll sell some, or we'll see how many sell. But see, that's the old Martie wanting to jump in and take over again. And I'm like, no, I'm paying it forward. Whatever happens is going to be a blessing already, because look at what it's done for me. And if I can share just a little ounce of hope with someone that can do the same for themselves, I'm not claiming to be an expert and tell you everything to do. No. I'm an expert at how I dealt with resilience now that I acknowledge it. But if someone sees just a little hints that I've done and starts applying, maybe that little baby step of action will get them going. They'll start sorting out all that junk in the trunk they've accumulated and say, oh, okay, this is good. I'm grateful.
That's awesome. That's very good.
And then the last one is practice, rinse, repeat.
Oh, yep.
So practice means keep getting up, dust off. We're going to make mistakes. Walt Disney, Bill Joe, all these big names that we know, none of them started where they are at or where they were. They had a hard time, and most of them waited till they got older to grow big and dream big, because they got rid of all that stuff that they was kept, but they had that force, that driving force, that resilience. So if you get rid of all that stuff, then you'll start noticing, and these is the benefits, and there's tons of benefits, because everybody can acknowledge this. In one moment of their life, they'll say, oh yeah, I felt that. So you'll have more clarity. Why? Because you removed all that junk out of the way, and you start living fully. You start absorbing the lessons.
Right. Oh my gosh.
You'll travel lighter. And when you travel lighter, you work more efficiently, because you're not dragging all that luggage, emotional luggage behind you. You'll worry less. You'll have more focus. You'll build confidence. You'll become more passionate. You'll become more creative. You'll develop a servant spirit. You'll have you'll improve your surroundings and better relationship with others. You'll be a better version of you each day. And that's one thing that I've made like a promise to myself, that every day I'm always going to be better than I was yesterday. And I'm going to look to ways to be better in the future. But we're always constantly growing and learning.
And I would say, and I would add to your list, you will be a more joyful person, because that's what I see in you. Every time I talk to you, you just bubble with like an energy and joy, and
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and hey, when you spread that message of hope and joy and resiliency, people catch that. It's not what's taught, it's what's caught and what people see. And people are like, man, I like her. I like her attitude. I like her energy. I want to be more like her. And if she can do it, yeah, so can I.
I got stronger in the body, but I got stronger in the mind and stronger at facing all this adversity that keeps coming. I lost 2 loved ones last year. My brother, it's been a year this month, the end of this month, and then my father-in-law a week before Christmas. At the same time, my resilience kicked in because I said, okay, my father-in-law was very proud of me for writing this book. And he's blessing me now in one way, shape, or form because I didn't fall apart. I stepped up to the plate to resiliency. I stepped up for my husband. And this man was 41 years like a father to me. And you just don't get that, especially moving 49 times in your lifetime. My dad always worked and he was never home. So, but he taught me. He had Alzheimer's, and I jumped in at the end of their lives, both my mom and my dad. My mom had cancer, so all that medical school training that I didn't apply as a radiation therapist came into play. So all these cards that I dealt that I thought were so far-fetched from where I wanted to be, no, they made all sense, and it is God's timing that all of it is getting put together, and he's forming like little stepping stones for me to reach my dreams. And the biggest one is this book because I'm blown away it happened. I'm blown away it happened, and I want to be a motivational speaker. I want people to feel they have it in them, that they can pick up, dust off, and find the goodness in them. It's just sometimes we don't see what's really the gifts we have because we've shut it all down trying to just get busy with life working.
Absolutely.
And that's not, so you become more adaptable, you become more resourceful, you're nurtured more, and you become nurturing. So
awesome.
The end result is a successful entrepreneur with resilience as a tool in their belt, and to grow and scale and expand that message and brand. And that's all I can tell you for now, because I'm myself living all these baby steps and saying, wow, okay.
Well, awesome. Well, why don't you share, and we'll put it in the comments too, if someone wants to order your book or connect with you, how they can, do you have a link or a website, or how do they order the book? Or
I could,
we'll want to just put it in
put it in the comments. I have a link.
Okay. Well, we'll put it in the comments. What's the name of the book?
But it is on Amazon. Resilience. I'll write that. Resilience nourishes the soul.
Resilience nourishes the soul. Well, I love that. And I appreciate everyone that watches it. Most people watch the replay. I'm sure, the people that will watch it in the replay. And if you want to connect with Martie, she is an absolute joy to get to know. And like I said, this group, I really want to empower people, empower women solopreneurs to connect, to celebrate, collaborate, serve each other, support each other, bring value. The more you give, the more you show up in energy to serve others, the more that comes back to you. So I always encourage you, jump in, be a part of the group, connect with people, be a supporter, be an encourager, because when you encourage, it's like a boomerang. It comes back to you. And it just, we constantly need to build our community of like-minded, amazing women that, give us hope that we can live bigger, chase our dreams and accomplish anything we set our mind to. And I truly believe that in this group. And I want to bring as much value as I can and have great people like Martie on here to share her story. Yay.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And this is just the beginning, because I already have plans to translate my book into Spanish.
Awesome.
Which is my native tongue. And I laugh because I'm probably going to have to hire someone out to have all that grammar, that Castilian Spanish that I was taught, that I kind of just shoved aside and said, nah. But it's humbling. It is humbling, but it's very rewarding, because you start seeing all your wins, and you start seeing the gajillion blessings you've had all along your life that you maybe never stopped to notice because you were too busy dealing with all this adversity, all this rough life that we all deal with sometimes.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you so much. We like to kind of keep these lives to 30 minutes so that we don't take up too much of everyone's time. But I will be having one next week with Katie. She's our digital expert. She cleans up and the efficiency person that's going to show us how to get organized so that we can build our business quicker and faster. And I'm excited to have her on next week. But thanks again, Martie. You are a joy to have, and I really appreciate you being in my life and a part of our community. So
thank you for inviting me, and I will definitely share. I probably write this up and share a little PDF on.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Okay.
We'll see you later.
God
Take
bless.
care, guys.
Take care. Happy New Year to everyone.